So this is the Johnson QD-10 I was working on. I did the fuel pump conversion on this one. Had to replace this dual line fuel fitting with a single line one. I got it on eBay. I believe it was about 12 bucks. Probably could get one cheaper if you're around where there's a lot of outboards, but I'm from Arizona and don't have much of a connection with outboard motors or anything like that around here. So this is a off-brand fuel pump, but I got two of them just in case because I'm cheap, and I probably should have just went and bought a Briggs & Stratton one, but I did not. Where I got my feed for my primer here was I took off this lower cover. It's just 4 screws that hold it on. This is one of them there. Took it off and I bought a 1/8 inch barb fitting from Ace Hardware. If you have a hardware store, you get your nuts and bolts, I'm sure they'd be able to accommodate you and have something like that. I think it was around $3 maybe. Then I took the closest drill bit to that size and drilled it one size smaller, and then took this fitting and kind of threaded it in there. I only went about 3 or 4 turns past the plate there because you can see the piston. Obviously didn't want to go too far in there. And what I did here is I put a bead of solder around there and the inside just so I can get an airtight seal on that. And the issue you're going to run into if you get it to mount up like I did with this one is I actually got it bolted on there. Almost looks OEM style if it would have came with it. I had to put a couple spacers on the 2 screws for it because if you can see, it would be hitting the head for that other screw if you were to tighten it down, therefore not actually putting any pressure on those 2 screws there. So once I did that, I got a pulse bulb for it. This is the fuel line coming in, so this would be the one coming from that fitting I showed, and this is going out, and that's going to the carburetor right on the bottom. And for that one, I bought another barred fitting. This one's going to be a 1/4 inch fitting that just accommodated the fuel hose a little bit better. This is where the air pressure that pressurized the tank came out of. What I did there was I just snipped the line, kind of crimped it with a pair of pliers and soldered up the tip there. That way I'm not leaking any air, and put it back in there. I was trying to find a plug for this here, which would look a lot cleaner, but I couldn't seem to find the right threads. I bought 2, brass one and iron pipe one. Neither of them seemed to fit, so I had to go back, and that's what I did to make it work. And I wish I could show you it running now, but it's kind of late. I'm sure my wife wouldn't appreciate it too much. I'll get another video up when I have it running. I had it running yesterday. It took a while to actually get it primed up, which is kind of a question I had. I squeezed the primer bulb on the fuel tank. You can feel it till it builds pressure. Now my question is if it actually goes past here onto the carb with squeezing that primer bulb, or it actually maybe takes a couple pulls on the rope to actually start siphoning some of that fuel that was primed up in there to the carb bowl. But once I actually got fuel in the bowl, I primed it and a couple pulls and it fired up, idled and revved up high. I adjusted the high speed and low speed settings at the time, and that's kind of all I wanted to show you right now is the fuel pump on there. Get another video when it's running here. This motor, I think it's an 88 Johnson 15 horsepower. It was actually given to me. It was not me personally, but it was on Craigslist, and the guy was, he had it on there for $1, and didn't really think that he wanted $1 for it. Called him up. He says, pretty much I just want to see it back on the water again, or want to know that it's back on the water. Want to give it to somebody that would make good use of it. So I told him I'd take it off his hands, and while I was working on that one, I know the oil fuel mix is not the same, but I was just curious, so I put the hose on there anyways and gave it some gas, and 2 pulls later fired right up. So that one's a running one. I guess got lucky on that. Here's the cal for that. I found the closest paint I can was original sea mist green, I believe, seahorse sea mist green, and this is for the 47 to 51, I believe, years. Somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, but after that I believe they went to a little bit of a darker kind of green color. So this is the current one I'm working on. Any questions, post a comment below, let me know what you think.